はようございます。
みんな、こんばんは。
こんばんは、おはようございます。
Good morning, good evening,
Hi.
good afternoon, everyone.
And Tanucast this week is starting.
Yay!
Hi.
Hey, thank you for coming. I appreciate your dropping by.
We're gonna go through the question Q&A session at the very last. So before that, I'm gonna do all the chat and talk. So today's topic is the key for successful marriage with a Tanuki girl.
Me.
Yes.
Aha.
Sounds a little strange, but last Tanucast session was about marriage.
Yes.
Like what happens, what you're gonna go through after you get married in Japan.
Yes, we did it.
And I talked about like what I did after marriage, about all the application and stuff. It kind of reminded me that if Tomo is a Tanuki girl, then I'm like one of the guy in a human-animal marriage folklore.
Yep. Right.
It's like a totally folklore thing.
Yes, that's right.
And then one question came to my mind. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work?
Very important question.
It really is important, yes. You know, some folklore says it's not gonna work. They're gonna be separate. They're gonna break up.
Yep.
Some doesn't say that. Some ends with a happy ever after.
Yay!
But not all. It kind of depends. So this time I studied a little about Japanese folklore and stuff to hopefully find if there's any pattern or like any tips, any rule that make a successful human-animal marriage.
Yosha! Let's check it out!
So let's check it out. So I'm gonna start with a brief classification of Japanese folklore in terms of what shows up.
Yes.
Which animal shows up? It's interesting that there's a kind of like a gender variance of like what animal shows up. Like on the left describes a marriage of male animal and female human.
Yes.
The vast majority is snakes. Snake guy visit a woman and try to get married. The second majority is an ape.
Ta-da!
And the third is kind of strange, but river snail. Those little snail that lives on river or like rice farm and stuff.
Very interesting.
Interestingly, each of them has its own distinct storyline. So it's like if you follow one specific animal species, you kind of see a lot of similar stories.
I see.
And of course it kind of varies. Like the pattern snake tails, not really applies, but there's an ape story that applies like snake story. So there's a variance, but those three animals are three most important things. Three of the most major things.
I see.
So on the right is female animal and male human.
Yes.
Once again, you see a lot of snake ladies getting married with a guy.
Yeah. Interesting.
And here you see some variants. Seems like people like fox girls back from the past.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily the case of male animal. Some, maybe you see some, but not really a majority of them.
Interesting.
And the third is clam. Clam, or like some seashells, small seashells.
It's crazy.
It sounds crazy, as crazy as the case of a river snail.
Yeah.
And the fourth is crane, the white bird, white-beaked bird.
Yep.
On today's session, I'll just go through the male animal, female human pattern
Yes.
and see if there's any like tips or any secrets that makes a successful marriage.
Yay! Let's go through.
Hopefully next week I'm gonna talk about female animal and male humans.
Yes.
So let's start with the pattern of male snake and
Yep.
female human.
Let's go.
So here I'm gonna describe some archetypal pattern of each of those storylines. So the first thing first is about marriage with a snake guy.
Yeah.
The typical storyline starts with a mysterious guy visits a human lady and tries to get married, maybe having an affair, sexual intercourse.
Then?
But the woman nor her parents doesn't really know who the guy is.
Wow.
Like back in the Middle Ages, like it was like a typical tradition for guys to repeatedly visit a woman
Yes.
before they get really married. So this story followed that tradition. One thing is nobody knows who the guy was, so they kind of suspicious about it and try to figure out who exactly he is. So one day the girl put a needle on the guy's cloak. Maybe she's got strings on the end and try to follow him through the thread.
Good trick.
But suddenly, strangely, the guy start to groan. Start like it. She just stepped like his clothes, but suddenly somehow he hurted him. So yes, this is what happened. And as she followed his trail, she saw some blood. And obviously he's not going to like a village, no cities. He's going like in the wild. After all, she find out it was a snake.
Wow. So surprised.
And inside a cave, she hears a mother snake and a son snake talking about what happened. The son snake, the guy, turned into man, and tried to get married to him, but he failed. He was suspected and stabbed by a snake. Legend says iron needle or any iron product is really toxic to monster animals and stuff.
Interesting.
That's why he suffered. And it actually was lethal to him. So he was gonna die.
Oh.
The conversation continues. Even after the snake guy says, even after he's dead, because the human lady is already pregnant, so his son will avenge him.
Wow.
And the snake mother says, no, there's a way to abort. There's a way to abort a snake baby. And talks about blah blah blah. She goes through all the steps. Now she knows how to deal with it, and she does so, and it's all done.
Oh.
So evil snakes are dead.
Yep.
Evil snake childs are dead, and she lived in a peace.
So
That's how the story ends.
kind of happy end for human side.
Happy end for human side, yes. After all, the snake was kind of evil intention, had an evil nature. So it was good for her to successfully get rid of him.
I see. Understand. Wow.
But anyway, in this case, the marriage didn't work.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
They divorced and they broke up in a violent way.
Yes. Right.
So snake marriage with a snake guy? No.
Failed.
Too bad. Next is marriage with an ape guy.
So?
You know, each story has kind of a variance, and sometimes, very often, different animals shows up.
Yep.
The storyline mostly stay the same. They share a great deal of the same archetype.
Okay.
That's one interesting thing. And here's the second thing. So, in this story, in a year of drought, a poor farmer who has daughters needs some help watering his farmland,
I see.
or else he won't get his harvest. So he looks like he was so desperate. He even offers his daughter if he helps him out watering his field.
Sounds very serious.
I'm sure he was expecting aid from human, but what came to him was an aid from a random mountain. Maybe someplace close.
Another surprise.
And even more surprising thing is that the ape actually helped him out.
Oh.
Successfully water the farm.
Wow. So he's not evil.
Right, he is good. He's good natured, not necessarily evil. So it's his turn. It's the ape's turn. That he wants his daughter.
I see.
You know, it's a fair deal.
Yeah.
The farmer offered, and the ape did what he wanted, what he needed.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a fair demand.
It sounds so.
Still, the farmer didn't like it. He didn't want to send his daughters to a random ape, which came from nowhere.
I see.
Despite the fact that it helped him out, it saved his family business.
Wow.
In this case, whose evil is human? But anyway, they didn't like it. So after all, the farmer and the daughter tricked the ape, and after all, killed it. So that's how the daughter could go home and have a happy life.
Happy life. We can say it.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
The story itself is kind of random, but I'm gonna tell you further about later. But anyways, in this case too, it didn't work.
Fail too.
Second failure.
Yep.
So the third one and the last one is about the marriage with a river snail guy.
This is
River
like the
snail.
most creepy one, I guess.
Most creepy and sounds most crazy.
Yeah.
Seems like the craziest. So a story starts with a married couple who doesn't have a child. For years, they couldn't have a child. So one day they prayed Kami, a deity, for a child.
Please.
And maybe Kami-sama knew that. And the wife suddenly got pregnant.
Wow!
Yeah, it's a miracle.
Yep.
And she gave birth to a small snail river.
So shocking!
Not a human.
Yeah. So shocking event.
But looks like they were kind enough.
Wow.
They started to raise their child, which is a river snail, not even a human.
I see.
And raised him for years and years.
Wow. Interesting.
And one day, a rich man knew about this small snail. And somehow, for a variety of reasons, it kind of depends on specific stories. But anyways, a rich man likes him.
It sounds so crazy.
Sounds so crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, it kind of depends on the story. Like one story says he's like a hardworking man, not a hardworking snail. Other story says he's a good rider, horse rider.
I see.
I kind of like him. And and the rich guy wanted his daughter to get married with him.
Wow.
I mean the river snail.
One of the craziest parents in the world.
Crazy, sounds crazy, but this time, daughter liked it too.
What?
Well, I will be okay with this river snail.
Seriously? Wow.
They get married.
I lost my words.
Right. And what happens afterward kind of depends on each story, kind of differs. But at the very end, somehow the river snail turns into real human.
Ta-da!
Real, maybe handsome, and healthy human guy.
Yeah. Wow.
So now there will be no problem with them.
Yeah, it sounds so.
Now what we have is a young, happy couple and happy ever after.
Yay! True happy ending.
So
It sounds.
now we have a successful case.
Finally, yes. But wow, very interesting and unique.
It seems so random.
Yeah.
But as I look into them, maybe I think I have a feasible theory that might explain what happened, which is about a noble's point of view.
Oh.
Not nobles nowadays, it's nobles in the Middle Age Japan.
I see. So, what is the noble's point of view?
So here's the brief summary. Let's see. It was a kind of a common practice among nobles in Middle Ages to send their daughters to like a man with a power, man with a political power, and they become like a relatives, so as to gain their own power too.
I see. Interesting, but yeah, makes sense.
It makes sense, and it really was an important thing, like especially after 8th century Japan. That's when emperor started getting married some other woman from outside of the imperial family.
Oh.
Before that, they only get married with somebody from imperial family. But
Very closed.
like starting from the 8th century, emperor takes his wife like from different family, different noble family.
へえ。なるほど。
So after that, it's got a mainstream for the nobles to try to offer their daughters to the emperor.
Oh.
So that she can be the mother of the next emperor,
Could be. Yes.
and her parents can have an influence over the emperor.
I see.
So that was the big thing.
Yeah, very big.
And actually, there's one big clan called the Fujiwara clan made the best use of it and gained a lot of power.
Yes, I learned from history class.
Like at one point of time, they were practically the ruler of Japan.
Yes.
And one guy in Fujiwara clan actually made a poetry that just talks about, I feel like the ruler of the world.
Yeah, it's very famous.
Yes, our power is flawless.
Woo! Yes.
Yes, it's our world.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yes, I very well remember that poem.
Right. My theory is that this practice kind of contributed to the rise or evolution of these stories. When you think about it,
Yes?
like it really is a big thing to send your daughters as a wife of some guy. You don't really want to. If you were a big nobles, you wouldn't want the husband to be like a common guy. It has to have somebody with a power, somebody with a political power. Or at least they have to be nobles.
Yes, I understand that.
So let's go through all the stories that we've seen.
Yes.
The first, Snake, he's from nowhere. He came from nowhere. He came out of a random cave in a mountain.
Yep. Right.
So he's a nobody. If you are a noble, you wouldn't want the marriage to happen.
Yeah. Right.
And the second one, the ape, he also is a random ape from a random mountain. You never know what it is.
No.
You know, he hasn't gotten any background.
Unfortunately, no.
So once again, you wouldn't want the marriage to happen.
Okay,
The
makes sense.
third case, River Snail.
Yep.
Why it succeeded? Because he was given birth thanks to a deity, thanks to Kami-sama. So you can even describe him as kind of a demigod thing.
Oh.
He has something divine inside him. Despite he himself is a snail, and he explains why the farmer in the second story killed the ape. It doesn't matter who he is, who the guy is. It's all about where he's from, what his background is.
I see.
That's why a kind ape was killed.
Wow, very sad, but
Very
now makes sense.
It kind of makes sense. Like there actually is a variant of a snake story where the baby kind of survived. Even though the snake guy has to leave her, she gives birth to a baby, and she raises him. But in this case, the snake is Kami, a god, a deity.
Oh, really?
That's
okay,
why. This
I
is
see.
why.
That's why she didn't decide to,
Right.
get rid of the baby.
Right.
なるほど makes sense.
So here you can get a really practical tip. See your background if you want to have a successful marriage with a human, if you are an animal. So I even made a simple flowchart
Wow, pretty simple.
to see if you have a successful marriage. So question is, do you have something to do with deity or Kami-sama? If yes, yay, congratulations, it's gonna be a happy ever after.
Straight chicken for a happy ending.
Right. No. Next question is, are you evil? If yes, it's doomed.
Yep.
If no, it's doomed.
That sucks. That sucks.
But actually, this is what happens. What happened in those stories?
I can't stop feeling sorry for the poor ape.
It's so sad. But it's kind of true.
Yeah.
So here's a practical tip. Ask yourself if you have something to do with a deity or Kami-sama or God. If yes, you can propose to your human girlfriend. It's gonna be okay.
Will you marry me?
It's gonna work. Otherwise, maybe not. Yep.
Rip. I see.
It's even possible that you get killed.
Yeah, right. Wow, pretty intense, but very simple.
It's so simple.
Yes. Wow. My God.
Right. So I guess this concludes the animal guy, story of the marriage of animal guy and human lady.
I see.
I'm gonna talk about the rest for hopefully next week.
Yep.
The
At
part
least,
2.
next session. Yeah. So now our explanation is
pretty much
ended.
done.
So let's go
This is
over
pretty much
some
it.
comments. Yep. So first of all, thank you everyone to come to this.
Thank you so much
podcast.
for visit.
Yep. So can you check the comments hat because I barely see the comments from this distance.
So Bramble Perp, Clown, yeah, he or she is so shocked.
Yep.
And no worries, I'm gonna talk about next week.
Yes.
Next week or next week.
Anyway, we will cover it.
Yes, we're gonna cover it.
Yep.
And hopefully then it makes sense to you.
Yes.
Everything makes sense to you. Bramble Perp, so cool. Yes, it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's all decided by who, like what's your behind.
Yeah.
Who's behind you, not yourself.
Yeah.
Such a sad thing.
Yeah. Pretty sad, but that was the old Japanese.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to think from the noble's point of view. Imagine you're a noble father. You have a daughter. Who do you want as her husband?
Yeah, I can
That
guess
explains
so.
all.
Because I think in 8th century or so, I think only the nobles or very high class people can read or write.
Right.
So those history must be made by very high end guy.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. You made a good point.
So very understandable for me at least now.
And Bonnet, glad to hear that you found it interesting.
Yay! Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Bramble Perp. Okay, yes. We'll talk about Kulam story later. Next week or maybe next week. Shiro Luffy haven't heard of something like that.
Yeah, it's so very interesting,
It's
right?
some random, weird stories.
Yep.
I'm kind of interested in the Western counterpart of those stories.
Yes.
Like human marriage story in the West.
I really wonder.
What happens or how they end.
Yes. If there's any pattern for
That's even more
animal
interesting.
guy and female lady, or vice versa. Yeah. But I really appreciate for all the comments and good to know that you all enjoyed it. I think.
That's a good news to me.
So maybe we went over most of the comments. Good.
Shiro Luffy, those story actually exist. Not necessarily something that actually happened, but there are those stories. Those stories are real.
Yep.
And those marriage practice of the nobles were real too.
Yep.
So I guess it's pretty much it for today.
Yay! So again, thank you everyone to come. I really appreciate it. So I really wish we can see you all in the next session. We talk about another successful marriage theory. We try to figure out.
This time between animal girl and human guy.
Yep. Our pattern.
Yes, our pattern.
Yep. So
until next time, Hachan Tomo signing out.
please stay safe, be healthy. Bye bye.
Bye bye.